So I think most people think that to be rich, you need to have over $1 million or have over, for example, $10,000 coming to you every single month. And that's actually not true. That's actually not at all what you actually need. And if it was that, then most people would never actually accomplish that goal of being wealthy or being financially free. So in this video, my goal is to actually define what being rich actually is, how to actually get there, and to actually calculate for yourself exactly how much money you're actually going to need. And that's what I'm gonna break down in this video right here. And as always, guys, like this video on top, but also subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. Now, the very first thing, guys, I really want to find this is basically data shows that to be a part of the 1% in America, you need to make around $488,000. But what they don't tell you is basically just by living in America and making over $40,000 a year, you're already a part of the 1% worldwide. Now, it's not to say that, well, yeah, I'm a part of the 1% worldwide, but you know, America is more expensive. That is very true, okay? But in reality, you don't need to make $488,000 to be rich, wealthy, or financially free whatsoever. You don't need that much money at all. And by the way, just be honest here, to be able to make that much money, you're not going to do it most likely with a job, because most jobs, they don't pay anywhere near $488,000 a year or over $200 an hour. Like, most jobs do not pay that, okay? Now, number two is, everybody usually lies or has a wrong perception when it comes to what the wealthy actually look like. In the sense that to be considered wealthy, let's say, for example, you say, hey, you need to have over $1 million, although you don't need $1 million. But you know, when you think about a millionaire, you think about, for example, mansion, nice cars, you know, crazy lifestyle, travel, boats, over 10K in income per month. It's just amazing. But in reality, these people are usually over 50 years old. 97% of them are actually homeowners of houses that are nowhere near $500,000. Usually they're between $300 to $350 to sometimes $400,000. But most houses, they're very modest homes, and they usually drive normal cars like Toyota, Honda, Mazdas, cars that are usually reliable. To be able to actually accomplish the milestone of being wealthy and rich, well, you need to do a lot less of what everyone else does. And it kind of just makes sense. It's a lot less of spending, a lot more of saving, living below your means, and investing and having your money work for you. Now, to kind of make this a lot more simple and actually ask this question, well, how much money do you think you actually need to be wealthy? Comment that down below. And now I'm going to break it down for you guys, okay? So overall, I thought for sure I needed to have over $1 million until I realized, well, that's not true, because the first part before you think about how much money you need is how much money you're going to be spending every single year. So let's say, for example, I said to myself, you know what, I want to live in Tampa, Florida. And my idea is if I can make $70,000 a year, I'm going to be perfect. Everything is going to be fine. It's a modest lifestyle. It's nice. I'm good to go. I would consider that rich in a way, okay? But in reality, when you think about it, if you can lower your expenses dramatically, you're not going to need that much money in income. Thus, you're not also going to have to work full time. Now, full-time work, remember, is around 2,080 hours every single year. That's a lot of time, honestly, okay? So if you can eliminate that, that's a lot of free time to do things you actually enjoy, to have more freedom. And the idea is you don't need to stop working, but if you don't have to work, that is financial independence in itself, because you do it because you want to, the money's good, but you actually enjoy what you actually like to do, okay? So to actually do that and to lower your expenses by half, the idea is, well, if you have no debt, that cuts your expenses. In reality, every time you get paid money, that money is not going to be going into the lender's pocket. It stays in your pocket for investing and doing whatever you want to do. Now, number two is, if you actually have a paid off home, a home is usually like a third of the average person's income, okay? So if that's basically paid off in full, well, what are you paying now? Like insurance and taxes and maintenance, that's like nothing compared to paying a full-time mortgage every single month. So if you have those two things taken care of, you pay cash for everything, you have no debt, you also have a paid off home, well, in reality, your cost of living goes down by like almost half on average. That basically means instead of me needing, for example, $70K a year, well, all I really need now is about $35,000 a year. That's a big difference. And that's why I always say, okay, knowing what you want, like I want to be a millionaire, I want to be rich, right? It's cool, but knowing why you want it and the reason you want it is the most important thing, because a lot of times once you know why you want something, it makes things a lot more easier. And sometimes you don't need to get what you wanted in the first place because your reason makes what you want different. What I mean is basically, when I first started learning about money, again, I thought I needed over $1 million. But once I knew the lifestyle I wanted to live, I noticed that I don't really need to have that much money, although I'll get there just by investing and doing what everybody else does. But you don't need to have that to kind of be financially independent today, in a sense, okay? Now, number 3 is, guys, retirement, in the sense, just want to share this here, isn't fair, because they kind of brainwash you into thinking the only way to be retired is to never have to work again, to be 65 years old, and then to have a good like 10, 15 years left in this life, okay? And it's kind of like, that kind of sucks, right? Because now you're like 65, you have 50 more years, you out of here by 80 years old usually, right? So it's like, that's not really a nice lifestyle. And the idea is that retirement involves never having to work again. But what are you going to do, right? You need to be productive in some sense. At least for me, I consider that to be just fine, just to have, like, having a job that I actually like. So if you can keep working, you can be retired a lot faster. And here's what I mean, okay? Kind of sounds like a riddle, but it's just pretty simple in the sense that retirement, if you switch the definition from not working at all, and instead of doing that, just working less and doing what you like, you're able to be retired faster. Meaning, I know people that basically, they don't work full time anymore, but they work, for example, and live in Mexico, right? They're Americans, live in Mexico. They have this kind of like vacation lifestyle, and they work, for example, part time. Instead of working 2,080 hours a year, they work, for example, 1,040 hours a year, and that's a lot less. They make less money, but they also need a lot less money because they also have investments that kind of cover their additional costs and so on. And that makes a big difference. And since they don't have, for example, a lot of debt, they also have a paid off home, this makes a big difference. So that way they don't need that much money. That's one aspect. Now, overall, the whole goal of this video is to tell you that your definition of what rich is going to be the biggest influence on actually the amount of money you're actually going to need. But just to make this video a lot more logical and to give you guys a figure and a number and a way to actually calculate everything, I'm going to actually pull out my handy calculator here to show you guys this very quick formula, okay guys?
2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths.
So basically, if you want to be conservative, the idea is you have to multiply exactly what you think your annual expense is actually going to need, and you want to multiply it by 25. Now, remember, okay, whenever you try to calculate your annual expense, try to figure out exactly, well, my annual expense with the mortgage, with debt, with this is going to be this much. But what if I'm actually able to go, for example, I have a course, by the way, it's called Financial Freedom, and the link is down below. But once you go through that course, you can actually take it, and it shows you how to basically pay off a home faster, how to basically have no debts, how to have an emergency account. So once you clear all those things right there, you're going to need a lot less money annually. And that basically means you need a lot less money invested. Makes a big difference, okay? So to be conservative, let's say you need 25 times your expenses every single year. So that basically means times 25, you need around $875,000. That is a lot of money, okay? To get to that money, it's a lot of investments in the stock market and index funds to actually get to a portfolio of this magnitude. However, if you do what I told you and say, hey, I just need $35,000 a year in passive income, but what if, for example, I decide to work part-time and I'm actually able to bring in, let's say, $15,000 a year just by working part-time, all right? That's not that crazy or unrealistic whatsoever. The answer is pretty simple, okay? If all you need is $20,000 a year, you multiply that by 25, well, that's around $500K. Although it is a lot of money, it's a lot less than $870,000. And if you're actually able to get this lower, or if you're actually able to put in a few more hours, it makes a big difference. Now, I don't know about you guys, okay, but just simple math here, it says this, okay? If you live 15 years in retirement and you're basically not working anymore, that basically means you don't have to spend 2,080 hours a year on work. That means you save around 31,200 hours. But if you start working, for example, part-time from today on for the next 45 years, that basically means for the next 45 years, you save a lot more than whatever the other number was. I already forgot, but the point is, it's better to work part-time today until you're 65 years old, enjoy your life, have a good job, have passive income, have no debt, no mortgage, and to be free and rich in the sense than wait until you're 65. So that's the idea. To get your number of what it means to be rich, this is how you do it. Now, by the way, you're probably wondering, Tommy, what is your number, right? Like, how do you calculate your number? Well, right now, I'm currently living in Dominican Republic, and I basically spend around 160 bucks on rent. My whole cost of living here is about 1,000, well, more like $930. But let's say, for example, $1,000. That includes fun, includes my normal like cost of living stuff like shelter, utilities, groceries, transportation, all that good stuff. But all together, it's around $1,000 a month. Okay, that's all I need. So basically, if I just need $12,000 a year, well, you multiply that by 25 again, right? 25. And that says, hey, you only need about $300,000. That's a lot less than the average person, but that's because I'm weird. I'm like, I don't really care about living in a fancy place. I just rather live like comfortably. And this is more than enough for me, okay? And that's the idea. By the way, whenever you multiply by 25, the reason you do that is because we call it the 4% withdrawal rule. That basically says, for example, if you want to basically have a portfolio and live off 4%, this way it continues to make money while you take money out. Basically saying, if I have a portfolio with 300K, and I take out, for example, 4% of that every single year, that equals $12,000, obviously, right? Now, if my portfolio makes me 8%, right, or 10%, this money grows more, and that way it keeps making me money, and I don't run out of money. Now, remember when I told you guys to be conservative, you do 25, but if you actually want to be ultra conservative, kind of like I am, again, I'm just like super risk averse, but $12,000, and you multiply it by 33, and that gives you, for example, about $396,000. It's a lot more, but it means you're only going to take around 3% every single year instead of taking out, for example, 4%. It makes a big difference, like safety-wise, but it takes a long time. And my point is, if I can still make like $4,000 a month or like $2,000 a month, like I'm more than fine because it basically covers all of my costs of living. You might say, Tommy, you don't have any kids yet, but again, like I've done the math on most of these things, and the idea is if I can just have a paid off home, if I can have income come in and I'm still willing to work, it's just more than enough, and I don't have to work full time whatsoever. But the reason I don't ever see myself not working is because I've experimented during the pandemic with, well, not really, because I worked during the pandemic, but I've experimented, I don't know when it was, with like a week or 2 weeks without working, and I don't like it. Okay, I actually like being busy, I like being productive, I like doing something. So usually when you do something, you earn something. So to me, it's not a problem. Actually keep working, and that's why my math is like this. Okay, guys, but guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video actually helped you, and I hope it actually helped you figure it out that you most likely don't need over $1 million. Like I need about a third of what most people need, maybe like 400K or so, but most likely just like 300K is more than fine. But the point is, you don't really need as much as you probably think you need. All right, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, shit notified, comment down below any questions, and as always, guys, peace. Another video is here, my face is here, click and subscribe, and as always, long-term team officially out.